Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Keels. Hi, Caity.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to PIP.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're excited.
We are.
Yeah, we're chatting all things supervision today. So it's a important topic to us. We really froth some supervision, don't we?
We
Yep.
do. We love it. We need it.
We do. And we do a lot of learning as a team around how to get the most out of supervision and what it means for us as clinicians and that kind of thing. So we thought we'd have a chat about all of our perspectives, both from being a supervisee, being a supervisor, the whole process of supervision and what the aim of supervision is, I suppose, as well. Because we know that there are lots of clinicians out there that whether they're working in a team and their supervisors on their team, whether they're accessing external supervision, they may not know what they are hoping to get out of supervision as well, and they kind of just take what's put on the plate sometimes.
Yep.
So I'd love to know from both of your perspectives, because I know that you've had experience outside of Kid Link as well previously. How do you view supervision and what's been helpful for you in your career progression as well?
Yeah. You go first, Keely.
I guess I view supervision as your time, which is awesome. It's an hour of or however long of your time to look at your week or fortnight or however frequently you're having supervision, and it's your time to get support with whatever you're needing in that. And so I guess that changes and grows as you grow as a therapist as well. Like that support at the start, maybe things that like notes and the little sort of sides of things. But then that starts to grow as well. But I think the important bit is that it's your time.
Yeah, it's a really protected time. And I find that that's been really cool as a supervisor to see how people sometimes might want to like vary how they use it.
Yeah, which can be overwhelming as well.
Yes.
Because it's easy to say that. It's your time, and then it's like, but what does that mean? How do I use it?
Absolutely.
And I guess there's no right answer. It's what you're needing it for.
And I agree with you in terms of it's forever changing. So I guess the definition of supervision for everyone is different, and it's different at different points in your career as well. And I guess I really see it as like an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to, I guess, refine skills, develop skills, and then also work out like your goals as well in your career too, and where you're at the moment. Where are you trying to go? So I think it's a real opportunity, and I guess in my different experiences at different places as well, and in different OT settings as well. I've worked in, hospital settings as well. I probably haven't valued it as much. Whereas at Kid Link, supervision is sort of everything to me. And, you look forward to that, your formal supervision every fortnight, and you really place value on it. But I also think that informal supervision is really important too.
Particularly as you start to like progress in your career and really look a little bit more into the future of what you want to get out of your role, that then you can kind of use that time to shape and build the skills that you might need for those things that you're really passionate about doing. Because I do feel like for most of us, when we first start out, it is very like in the moment, what am I struggling with?
Client-based.
A lot of client-based, or like you said, Keels, like staying on top of your notes and managing your bookings and that kind of thing.
It's a lot of problem stacking, isn't it? You come with problems and problems and problems, and it's sort of like, how do I solve this?
Yes.
What can I do right now to solve it?
Whereas as you progress, you might be looking more to like building skills in leadership or project management or that kind of thing, where you might, for a lot of the team here, there's often weeks where you're like, oh, I actually only have like one client to talk about, and then I've got all this other stuff that I want to go through, versus I've got 10 clients that I just need you to tell me what to do.
Yeah. And I think that's the really important thing about supervision as well, is that it really has to be self-directed, doesn't it?
Yes.
So you as the supervisee really need to direct supervision. And I think when I was a new grad or whatnot, I actually didn't see it as that. I saw it as the opposite. So that's probably why I didn't hold such value or didn't see it as having value.
Yeah.
Whereas now that it's I self-direct my supervision, it's a lot more beneficial for me.
And I think what can really help with that is what you were saying before, Caity, is having goals around supervision, because otherwise, it can just be the in and outs of the week, which is okay too, but having those goals around what are you wanting from supervision just help provide a bit of that structure.
Yeah, and I think a really good indicator that you need to like review those goals is if you are going into supervision and you're thinking, oh, I actually don't have much to discuss, or like, do I need supervision potentially? That's always a really good indicator for me that, I need to actually go back,
touch base on
with my supervisor, check my goals, and then maybe reset or, tweak those goals a little bit as well.
Yeah. It's funny because I've like had some conversations with one of our colleagues, and she recently did a PD on like getting the most out of supervision, which really shows that it's it goes both ways, that yes, as supervisors we're doing learning around how to be the best supervisor we can be, but you can only be so good if the supervisee is coming with goals and agendas and something they want to get out of it as well, for it to be a really positive experience.
And I think
everyone.
that also shows that like supervision is a skill.
Yes.
And we need to learn how to engage in good supervision, or self-direct our own good supervision, I guess. Yeah.
We talk a lot at Kid Link, and I'm sure we've used this metaphor in one of our other episodes around that. We often view supervision as an opportunity where early in your career, we liken it to fishing, that early in your career, you're generally just looking to be given a fish, to take your problem or your client or whatever it might be and say like, help me, tell me what to do. What do you think? Versus the aim is to really build those skills so that we can learn to fish for ourselves, essentially. I actually think it was you, Caity, that used that.
I actually think it was me.
Yeah, now that I feel like you really were like, I've got the quote and I can say it. Like, teach a man to fish, quote. Yes.
That's it. And they will fish for a lifetime.
Yes. Or feed for a lifetime.
Feed for a lifetime, that's it.
But it is really true in that, and we see it a lot, the more that our colleagues progress in their learning and goal areas and skills and that kind of thing, that often we as supervisors are more just kind of guiding and letting them say, hey, like, this is my idea, this is what I'm thinking of this client or this project or whatever, like, have you got any feedback, versus where do I even start?
Yeah.
Which would be such a skill for, I'm not a supervisor yet. I'm just a supervisee. But it would be such a skill for you, I imagine, to pull back and actually go, is this moment a moment that, I need to give that fish? Or is this actually a really cool chance?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Keely, because I had a discussion with an external supervision the other day, because we were talking about as our role as clinicians when we're coaching with parents and caregivers is that like, we as clinicians, well, at least we at Kid Link, like, love to share our knowledge because we love what we do.
We love OT,
We do. And so sometimes it's really hard to not just kind of throw all your knowledge into that conversation and just be like, okay, you tell me what you're thinking, and I'll kind of chime in when you want me to.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point, because I actually had that experience recently when I attended. So I'm trying to develop my supervision skills as a supervisor. And I attended a group supervision session, an external session, and was helping out with it. And there was, a question about, it was student supervision, and I just had a student. So I was like, yes, I can come in. I've got so many
knowledgeable
ideas.
in
this and this. And then I was with Cowie, and then she just stood back and kind of just sort of again coached the supervisee, and I was like, oh yeah, that's probably the way I should have gone with it. But it is that skill of I've got information that I want to share, but wait a second, that supervisee actually has to direct, what do they actually need from me in that moment. And do you, as a supervisor, what do you think makes a really good kind of supervision session?
I think first and foremost, we often talk about that time being, like you said, your time, and our aim is for it to be like a psychologically safe space for that person. So like trust and rapport is key. And I think that that's like sometimes forgotten on both ends, that to be vulnerable, they need to feel really safe in that space. And so as a supervisor, I really make that effort to make sure that that's an ongoing process. Even just little things around like genuinely checking in, like what went well over the last 2 weeks, share your wins with me and that kind of thing, rather than just being like, what do you want to talk about? The supervisee coming with an agenda is really important. That's your responsibility as the supervisee. We often reflect around, when would we ever kind of shape the agenda? And it's very rare. It might be off the back of a conversation that we have where we're like, oh, why don't we next time, have a 20-minute discussion around this topic or that kind of thing. But generally I'm expecting that if you're wanting to use that time, that you have a use for it. But in saying that, it's like it is your time to be creative with. So, whether that be that I've had supervisees coming with client-based questions, or if they've been working on a project and they want some feedback on it, and we spend some time going through their plan and what they've developed, or whether they're like, I'm just feeling really snowed under with my notes and bookings, like, can you show me what you do to feel on top of that and that kind of thing. I think that all of it's really important, but it's got to be directed by the supervisee. There might be times where I might be like, hey, I'd love to have a chat about report writing. If I've, had some feedback that's probably something that should be a potential goal, or that kind of thing. But it's very rare that I would be pushing the agenda myself. So I think that that's really what matters for it to be like a positive experience for everyone.
Yeah, and effective, I guess, as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Because and I say this, but I've definitely gone to supervision and been like, right, what am I using this hour for? Like, I have not planned ahead of this, particularly being part-time. That time comes around really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, it's only like 4 client days between my fortnightly supervision sometimes. So it feels like I'm like, oh, we just did this, didn't we? kind of thing. But on other times I'm like desperate for it. I'm like, oh, I have so much to go through as well. So, I think that if you are unsure about how to use your supervision sessions, bring that up. It's funny because we as a senior team here, like, we love to do supervision, and we are trying to build more and more opportunities for external supervision to come in and that kind of thing. So when we do have supervisees that may be like, I don't really value that time, or I don't need it, like, that we're missing out too. Like, we love to do it. So it's often that the supervisor's there because they have a passion for supervising as well. But if you're unsure, yes, chatting to your supervisor. And I also think that for us, we often think in categories around like where you might see your goals sitting. So sometimes we have goals around our clinical caseload. We might have like organizational type goals. We might have personal goals as well, whether that be like, and when I say organizational, I don't mean organization skills. I mean organizational as in business organizational. Because your personal skills are more, like your time management, your organization, all of that.
Leadership skills.
And I think that thinking about your goals in different areas can be really helpful as well, because that will help your supervisor kind of guide.
Yeah, and supervision can be used to actually establish those goals.
Absolutely.
That's very effective use of supervision too.
Yeah. What would you guys say are, like we were saying, like almost red flags of supervision, like where a supervisee might be like, and I'm speaking more from a supervisee level, because I'm kind of assuming that almost all people listening to this would be a supervisee, but not everyone is a supervisor. But where someone might be sitting being like, I don't know if I'm getting the best kind of supervision or what I need. What kind of pops to your minds?
I think you touched on it before, but what you need is safety. So when you're not feeling safe in a supervision session, that is a bit of a red flag. So when potentially you bring things up and you feel judged or, you should actually know that, those sort of things, that's really a recipe for, I guess, not the best supervision, because it means that you're going to come to that session not feeling like you can be open and not being able to be honest in terms of where you're at. And it's almost like I've been in these positions where you kind of feel like you're trying to impress your supervisor during your supervision session.
Or that your knowledge is being like tested.
Yes, absolutely. I think we've got stories of, people, I think it might be one of the OTs here, but in a supervision session having to do like some form of quiz or test. Which is just not how it should be used, really. What about you, Keels? Do you have any stories or red flags?
I was just thinking of like similar to what we were saying, I guess, that like it not being your agenda. Like if they're bringing their own
let's just talk about this, or I want to teach you about this,
their own thoughts, and coming in with their ideas, and like what you were saying before, that trust, we're really lucky that our supervisors are in our team, so we do have like that chance to really build that. But I can imagine it might be different with some of your external supervisors.
It takes time, particularly if they're like ad hoc, so I only see them every 6 to 8 weeks or even more. I feel like, and I know that people are paying a decent amount to access those services, so I want to use the time really productively, but also I'm like, I don't want to just like skip over the connection part, because I think that's really important to creating that safe space versus just jumping on and be like, all right, go, your time is on.
I think another red flag for me in the past has also been when my supervision keeps getting rescheduled as well. And I'm a pretty flexible person, but if it's happening sort of each time, it sort of feels like maybe that your supervisor doesn't place as much importance on it as well. And I think that can also impact that trust and sort of rapport or openness as well. So that's another one that comes up for me.
Yeah, I also probably just think that help at the start of your career in supervision to understand this, I guess, or like understand what is it, because I think I was part of a bigger team where I didn't have that general support throughout the day. So my supervision time I loved because I was like, I need this. But actually knowing how to make the most of it. And I hadn't been taught those skills yet. So I didn't know how to make the most of it.
It can also be dependent on like the kind of team that you work in, like you said, like big team, how often you're actually being able to connect with your supervisor outside of that 1 hour window or something. Or if you're watching, you're getting a little treat where Macy,
hey, Macy,
our little therapy dog, is just coming over to have a little pat. But if you are a team, like maybe on a multi-disc team, because I've certainly heard of, OTs having supervisors that are speechies or that kind of thing. So there's obviously an element there where that supervision can be really productive around some of that like personal, organizational, that kind of thing. But when we're looking at your clinical skills, perhaps you might not feel like you're getting what you need because you genuinely just come from different professions.
Especially early days where you really need, you need activity ideas, session ideas. You need really specific information, don't you? That is often really OT specific. So yes, I can imagine that would be hard.
Which I think is what I've loved now about being part of a team where we've got an open office and it's like, I need help with this in the day so that because obviously trying to bulk that all up for your supervision time is hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Kils, I think you spoke about this before we started recording, but you were talking about when you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And Caity, you might want to come in with what that actually, what do we call that? What's the actual term?
Yeah. So we often speak of like our learning zones, I suppose. There's definitely this is based on a model. I'll put the model name. I can't remember it off the top of my head in the show notes. But we often start with, so we're looking kind of at your like level of awareness into your skills and then your actual skills as well. So we all often start at this level of like unconscious incompetence, which is really that you don't know what you don't know, essentially.
So you're like, this is all right. I'm
you're like, I'm
right.
good. I love this. Like I've got access to all these games and therapy resources. I've downloaded some printables. I'm good to go kind of thing. But then as we start to build skills in our reflection, you might start to notice or become more conscious of your incompetence as well, which we're saying this is a really uncomfortable space to be.
It's like that existential crisis.
Yes, where you're like,
why did I choose OT?
Yeah, I would say hard. It's almost like that, like you get to that 12-month mark and you're like, oh, yes, this is tricky, where you're really starting to reflect on, okay, like where are the gaps in my knowledge? And, I've done well to kind of wing it and sit through those therapy sessions, then come to supervision and ask questions around it and that kind of thing. But now I'm really starting to become aware of where my gaps are. And so you might set goals around those areas and that kind of thing. And slowly you will start to get to become more aware of the conscious competence that you have. So you'll start to actually be able to reflect on what I do know and what I have learned and what my strengths are and that kind of thing, which is a nice feeling. We do like that. And sometimes we kind of want to sit there a little bit too. And if we don't keep trying to build those skills, we might then start to sit in that like unconscious competence as well, which I guess can be a hard space to because we want to really move to like reflective practice. And so if you kind of just sit in this like area of feeling really competent and that kind of thing, it can do yourself a disservice.
Well, you're not really, it might mean that you're not sort of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone as well. You're kind of just sticking to what you know.
Absolutely. And look, some people and clinicians are really happy with kind of getting to a point in their career and how their role looks and being like, yeah, like this suits me. But then I know for a lot of particularly OTs, we're pretty driven to build our skills and knowledge and like I said earlier, we love to share knowledge and that kind of thing. So really working towards, I guess, like step 5 in this learning matrix. And this is, I actually do have it listed there. It's Michelle Bahari has developed this. We do really like Michelle Bahari. And step 5 is sort of this reflective competence. And so again, when you're sitting here listening to this, would really like challenge you to think about where do you reckon you're sitting on this matrix? And how can that shape what you use supervision for as well.
And I think what's important to note as well is that you can go from one thing, you can go from like that conscious competence and then go back to that sorry, I'm going to stuff this up, but the conscious incompetence where you have that sort of existential crisis of what am I doing here?
Yes.
Particularly when you take new things on. So like when we take on, like if you take on a new project or
you're
whatever.
learning new skills in that.
Or, you know, we're developing our supervision skills or whatnot. You can go from one thing to the next I think quite quickly.
Absolutely.
As well. So I think that's important to note too.
Yeah. And I think that like, I mean, it even comes for like different goal areas and that kind of thing. You might feel really comfortable in a space and then, you know, like I'm going to be vulnerable here. And like if I had like a PDA presentation, even though I've presented on that, I feel like my knowledge is there, but my doing is still something that I want to build on. Whereas if you give me, you know, like a goal around sensory processing, I'm like, easy. Like,
I also feel like I go through this when I go to a PD.
Yes.
And I go to this PD because obviously I'm like, I want to learn more. And then you go there and you're like, yes, I know so much. And you're really excited to use some of those skills, you know, in your sessions and things. And then you go into your sessions and you start to try and do it and you're like, wow, actually, like, I don't know how to do this or whatever it might be. When I'm actually doing it logistically, it's a little bit harder. So you kind of go through that when you go to a PD as well.
Whereas maybe when you were at the PD, you felt confident, you couldn't think of the questions, you didn't, you know, you're like, okay, I got it. And then you get into doing and it's like, wait a
second, I need to go back here and then I can go there.
And do you know what? I mean, like we're very lucky that as a team we schedule like learning days 4 times a year where we often reflect on a PD that we've done and look at how we can apply it and that kind of thing. But again, supervision is a really great way to use that to be like, this is what I learned at the PD. Like, how can we fit this into our model of service and with the kids that I'm working with and that kind of thing. So again, it's like that's reflective learning there in itself.
Yeah. What can I take from this PD?
Yeah.
And how can I apply it?
Yeah. So I mentioned Michelle Baharia earlier, and I should sort of mention that quite a few of our OTs here at Kid Link have accessed some of her learning, and she has some really great learning opportunities for if you're wanting to build your own supervising skills. So if you're looking to become a supervisor or if you're already one and you're like, I want a little bit more in my toolbox. She also has ones on getting the most out of supervision for yourself. But for you guys, have you found anything else helpful in like building, because we did say like supervision is a skill. So have you found anything else helpful if you're like, how do we actually build these skills? Or is it through experience as well and figuring out what works for you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that being reflective, I think has been a big one of my week, of my skills and where I'm sitting. I'm have had to work on my confidence as well. I can downplay my abilities, I think, and so I can actually come thinking I'm not doing things, but I've actually had to be challenged of like, you've got that, you've actually got those skills. It's almost that excessive reassurance seeking, I guess, and moving towards things that I'm actually growing in as well, and not just sitting in that what I do know.
I think for me as well, being like having students and supervising students has helped me develop my supervising skills, but also has helped me to reflect on my own supervision and like as a supervisor, what makes a good supervisee, if that makes sense. And also like what is effective and what's not. So I think you can, like these skills, you can apply it both ways to how to enhance your own sessions as a supervisee, but also how to build your supervising skills too as well.
Yeah, love it. Well, I think we might sort of wrap it there, but I would encourage anyone that's listening, particularly if you're sort of sitting there and you're like, maybe I'm not getting the most out of supervision. Really think about, some of those areas, like coming back to your goals with your supervisor around, I feel like it's just a little bit of a problem solving every 2 weeks or that kind of thing. What else can we look to use this time for? I I will do a little cheeky plug.
I was going to,
like,
if
you
you
better
didn't.
do it. That Kid Link does offer external supervision as a service. So if you don't currently have supervision, or you're looking to sort of diversify the kind of supervision, I'll pop the link in the show notes, because we love doing that, and we do it generally on a fortnightly basis or a monthly / ad hoc basis. So that's an option too.
Also our OT Link subscription, which is a good chance, like I was talking about, through the weeks when you've got those little things that you just need that support with, we've got a channel that you can ask
Q&A,
those sort of, those questions to then allow you to actually make the most out of your supervision.
Yeah, and we really thought that will be really helpful to like sole traders and people that don't have that opportunity for like informal supervision in the team office and that kind of thing. And that's where we also offer group supervision. For a certain level of subscription, but group supervision is a whole different thing. We generally, and I do believe OTA has also kind of said that, like, if you're doing group supervision, you should be doing individual supervision. It should kind of just be like an add-on, because it's very different. It's very much a reflective kind of group discussion and that kind of thing. So we'll pop all the links to what we at Kid Link offer in the show notes. But we hope this has been helpful. We do love a bit of supervision.
And be kind to yourselves as well, because it's, like we said, it's a skill that we learn.
A skill,
as well.
it's a journey.
A journey, that's
a journey.
And well said. Being vulnerable is hard.
It is. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, Keely. Thank you, Katie.
Thank
We'll chat
you.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.